All right. Hey, good afternoon, LinkedIn. Dave Wilson of the Ring It Hire Show. Today, I got a great guest, Marissa Phillips, seeking employment in Manhattan. How you doing, Marissa?
I'm good, thanks. How are you, David?
Good. Well, everybody knows we'll be right back after this video. And there we are. How you like that?
I enjoy that very much. I can watch it over and over and over. Did you do that on your own?
No, I have used that Fever app, whatever it's called, Fiverr, and I have a gentleman.
Oh, right.
I use him for a year, and we both know each other by now. So I send him images, he puts it together for me. And
right, they could use the different backgrounds and all that.
It is. But today, everybody, the reason I wanted to have Marissa on here is she just caught my eye. We did a show about employment recruiters, and she has such a passion, and she's also seeking employment. So I always like to help people out and, give back here on LinkedIn. So Marissa's in Queens, but wants to work in Manhattan. So first of all, Marissa, why don't you introduce yourself, your background, your family?
Sure. So hi, everyone. Of course, I'm Marissa P. for Phillips. I am from British Guyana. Many people might not know where that is, but that is border to Brazil. So it's South America, not the Caribbean. I live in the United States. My family lives back home in Guyana. My father has a farm. That's where I grew up. And that's his passion. Like, my passion is finance. His passion is farming. So that's what I have been doing.
And then how long have you been in the States?
This year's going to be 17 years.
17, wow. Yeah. Well, you're the first even one from Queens I ever interviewed. And the reason, again, like I wanted to bring you on, you have such a passion, is what type of job or career, Marissa, are you looking for in Manhattan? Because that's where I want to tell everybody, if you're watching this, please reach out to Marissa anytime on her LinkedIn page. But what type of work, what's your dream job again,
So I've been in finance for 17 plus years, and I have a passion for compliance. And I've worked in Manhattan for literally 17 years, I love it. Midtown, downtown, the east side, the west side, every part of Manhattan. So I'm very well aware of Manhattan. My dream job is to become an auditor. So I've done auditing, but I would like to have that as an official title, probably like a deputy auditor.
Right.
But it takes a lot, People look at, and I don't want to discriminate females, and they don't really believe in them so much, because if you look, statistics will show most of the auditors are males.
Right.
So that's my dream job. Right now, I'm looking for anything in compliance, such as quality control, quality assurance, financial crimes, sanctions, auditing.
Right.
What else? OFAC, transaction monitoring, anything that falls under the compliance umbrella. I am happy to work.
You're happy to work. I believe we have some other people that joined the group, and I have to tell them, I'm not sure they clicked on a group, because there's Christopher Adamo, Thomas Glazensky, Antonia Bersas, if I pronounce
Can't see any of them.
that right. No, I don't know if they're not connected to to the feed here, but that's all right. We'll see what they're saying.
Let me say hi to them all. Hi, Christopher. Thank you for joining. Hi to Mark. Who else is on? Did you say?
Antonio.
Hi, Antonio. Thank you so much for joining. These are all wonderful, amazing people.
Yeah, I'm not sure why it's not showing, but it'll come up. You know, what I wanted to ask you is, we talked about this previously. We're in two different worlds. Oh, here we go. There we go. There, the feed link is hidden. Uh-oh, it's hidden. Well, now we got it.
He's a tech guy, so thank you.
Yeah. Steve. But the reason I don't understand what you do, I've told you that before. I don't understand it. So when we look at banking, because I looked at, I mean, you worked at Goldman Sachs, you were at Citibank, JP Morgan, HSBC, Citi. I mean, what is it is, and what is, I'm going to go over it so I understand it. An extensive multi-year experience in banking focused on compliance. What does KYC, AML mean?
KYC stands for Know Your Customer. So, for example, hi, Nathan. So if you were to come in and open an account, or you want to open an account, it's after 9/11, the government came out with, you have to know your customer. So we would need IDs, like a driver's license. Hi, Antonio. Your 2 pieces of ID, driver's license and maybe a bank statement or utility bill. You know, we have to know where the reason for you opening an account, where you work, what's going to be your deposit like, what's going to be your withdrawals like. So we need to know your transactions. Future transaction history, we're going to need to know that. So that is what KYC is know your customer. We need to know them inside out, pretty much know them more than ourselves. Transaction monitoring is 2 things. You can do transaction monitoring live, where I'm live going through your, let's say we're using you as an example, all your transaction live, I'm seeing it coming in, going out, what's going on. Or I could do historical, go and look at your historical transaction. Because if you say, you know what, Marissa, I want to open an account, it's for my business, I'm going to have 10 deposits every month, and I'm going to have 10 withdrawals, or no, not 10, maybe 8 withdrawals. I'm going to have 5 wire transfers, and that's about it. So maybe 5 ACH. So that's a total, let's say about 35. Maybe I'm a little bit off in my math. And when we look at your transaction, we see a lot of cash flow. We see cash coming in and cash going out. So it's about 50 to 70 transactions a month. And most of it is cash, or whatever comes in, wire transfer, and goes out. Well, that's a red flag. So we call that anti-money laundering.
Yeah, you were saying that.
The potential for money laundering, because, why are you bringing this money in and is going out? That's a problem. So we would need to know, we would have to call the client and find out, what's going on. Hey, has anything changed in your business? Has it grown? What's the reason for it?
So you actually research that? Like if, say, like I know you said before when we were talking, say like $9,500, it wasn't 10. Was that your job it came up red flag and then you handled it, or how does that work?
Yes. So as an auditor, the tellers, when let's say you're going to go to the teller to make a deposit, and you know how to escape money laundering, you're going to deposit $9,500, $9,800, and so on. So right away, we know that something's going on, and we see it's a trend. Every day you're doing that, you're depositing 9,000 cash and all that. That is going to, so what the tellers are going to do, they're going to do a suspicious activity report. And that is something we are going to keep. We're going to file and we submit to other institutions. And then if you were to make 10,000 deposit cash, then you have to do a CTR, which is a currency transaction report, which we file. We have to get your ID, every single thing. Now we inform a client when we do a CTR that we're going to do a currency transaction report on them. When we do a suspicious activity report, we don't let the client know, because if we let them know, they're going to change their behaviors, and they're not going to make these deposits, or they're going to make smaller deposits. So that's what those 2 acronyms stands for.
Is everyone trained in that area specifically, or is it, your tellers and what you do here behind the scenes with the auditing.
Right.
Who catches that?
The tellers are responsible for that.
That's what
So the auditors, for example, when we go to audit the branches, that's one of the things that we look at. So let's say you deposit, and again, I'm going to use you as an example,
Right.
if you don't mind, David.
No.
If you keep depositing $9,900, $9,500, $9,200, and let's say the teller did not complete SAR, as we call it.
Right.
Now I'm having a senior moment.
That's all right. It's live. When you're live, you don't know what you're going to say.
Activity report. Then that's a problem, because
Right.
we have to make sure that we are protecting the bank. So we have the proper controls. And that would be, a violation, because they need to file that, because we have to send it to other institutions. Because if the same thing is happening at other institutions, then it's money laundering,
Right.
And, it goes to government. We don't want any business with any type of people like that, because it put the bank at a risk, or any financial institution. It doesn't necessarily have to be a bank. It could be.
So it's not even, okay. It's
Goldman Sachs. It could be investment companies, doing wire transfers.
So
but
when you
expect,
go ahead. When you say about OFAC sanctions, what does that stand for? Again,
OFAC.
These are OFAC. Okay.
OFAC sanctions. So, for example, you have your business, and you said, I sell cars, and I'm only going to operate, all types of cars. I'm going to operate in Russia. I'm going to operate in the UK, meaning sell cars, and they are the United States. Those three countries. Well, Russia, we have certain sanctions with Russia. So you have two types of sanctions. You have comprehensive sanctions, which means that we don't do anything with any company at all. For example,
Right.
Iran. We have comprehensive sanctions with them where we do not do anything. And then we have limited sanctions where we're going to do certain things. So now if you say that you're doing business in these countries, and then when we look at your accounts, we see you're doing business in Iran. Well,
Right.
That's a major issue. Now that's where sanction comes in, because, we don't do anything with Iran and Cuba and North Korea. And a few other countries. And
Right.
if you're doing something with a country that's sanctioned, heavily sanctioned because of what they're doing, we don't want any business to do with that, and we're going to close your account right away, because it put the bank at risk. Again, it's all about risk and control.
And I can imagine how detail orientated you have to be for that.
You have to search, because when you search, there are so many names that comes up. So you go on the Treasury website, and
Right.
that's where you search for sanctions. Like I put in your name, or I put in your business, and David Wilson is a very common name. You might find a few hundred names.
Right.
You would have to look for a social, or put in the business and look for the business identification number and all that, and then you'll see negative news are going to show up. You operated in Iran, and
Right.
a few of your cars had defects and people died and stuff like that. And you're going to have all kinds of negative news when you go on the Treasury website and you look at it. But sanction is very, very important, because we do not want to have to deal with countries that are threatening us.
Right. And in your business here, in where I know you want to work in Manhattan, that's where you've been working. Is it very competitive?
It's a beautiful place to work.
I've never been there. You said we're 87 miles apart, but you
need to come visit Manhattan.
I know Manhattan,
this is the financial district of the world. How can you not ever been to Manhattan?
That's what it's at. Is it competitive in that industry?
Finance is very, very competitive, very, very cutthroat. So I believe in sharing knowledge. People don't really like to share knowledge because they're threatened. They're threatened, they might lose their job because you might be better, or they might feel like if you're going for an interview, you might get a job and they might not get it if they share their knowledge. I'm a person that I'm going to share my knowledge with everyone because I'm confident in myself. If I don't get a job, I don't get a job. At least, I'm helping someone else. And, you and I have spoken, and I would share my knowledge with every and anyone because I believe in knowledge sharing.
I think that really helps and explains what type of person you are. You want to help somebody. You're going to give them value. You are. Yeah. You're going to show somebody that doesn't understand. You're going to take them under your wings, show them. And for what you do, what made you get into this field? What, you just woke up one day and said, I want to get into finance, or when you went, I know you went to college and all that.
So I came here at the age of 21. And in Guyana, so we are ruled by the British, so the system is different.
Right.
So you guys have middle school, high school, junior high school. We have primary school, secondary school. That's it. Kindergarten, primary, secondary, and then you go to college.
Right.
I was doing science, and I wasn't very good at science, so I went to a private school for business. And when I came out, I started working at Bank of Nova Scotia, which is a Canadian bank. I'm sure you've known.
Right here. Yep.
I've worked there. They have no branches in the United States, but they have a corporate office, and the corporate office is where I work as a sanctions advisor. And when I came here, I was making, I'm embarrassed to tell you what I was making.
Right.
And it was a very troubling and hard time for me. So I started looking. Back then, you had newspapers where you would look for jobs, and every day I would.
Well, we're way back now. I know. That's good. That's all right.
And I found a banking job, a small community bank, only had 2 branches. I applied as a teller. I got the job. 6 months later, geez, man. I hate when this happened. I was promoted to a personal banker, and a personal banker is someone who opens your account, services your account, and all those things. They'll do wire transfers and order checks and stuff. And I was there for a year, and Citibank started doing their mass hiring.
Right.
And a very good person of mine, encouraged me to apply at Citi. I was very nervous. I'm like, this is such a big bank. I don't know if I could do it. And he encouraged me, very positive. He's like, do it, Marissa. You can get the job. I did it. I got the job. But I never did tellering because my manager thought, hi, Dave.
No, that's me. Hey, Bill. That's Bill, one of my colleagues. He's going to be on. He's going to be on tomorrow night's show, and I got to call him tonight. So Bill's a great guy.
Bill.
You definitely got to connect with Bill. You definitely got to connect with him.
I did connect with Bill, but I didn't know you guys know each other.
Yeah, he's awesome. He always comes on the shows. And hey, what I wanted to ask you is, first let me say that if anybody's watching this that's in, Marissa is free on me. I always say free on me. It's not a direct hire. So you can always reach out to her on LinkedIn. If you're, in Manhattan and you know of somebody, reach out on LinkedIn, and it's free. I always like saying that it's free, because I'm doing this to help you, and you got such a background. I mean, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan. That's insane.
That's just a few of them.
Yeah.
A few of them. I've worked for Bank of America. I've worked for all the large banks. I've worked for foreign banks as well. So I have great experience, and what? Unfortunately, that could be something that could affect you because people might think that you are overqualified, and so if they believe that you're overqualified, what they're going to do, they're not going to, that's probably going to be a determining factor in denying you a job.
Right. When
what they should really do is reach out to you and ask you, why are you looking to take a pay cut, perhaps?
Right.
And your response could be, I'm looking to move. I'm looking to take better care of my family, so I need to work shorter hours. But you should never push a client away and make assumptions. You don't make assumptions. You know what they say, assumptions, only fools make assumptions.
Well, Marissa, I have a long question for you here. If you want to read this off, it's for you.
I can't see. Oh, can you shed some light on something, please? From feedback I get various, it looks like many financial institutions are on KYC hiring spree every several months, but are looking for temporary consultants as opposed to full-time employees. Is that counterproductive for 2 months? For two main reasons I can think of. One, isn't there a constant need for these types of position? Absolutely. KYC is a very important position. And this is something that the government after 9/11 said, we have to know our customer, or else we're not going to open an account. If not, money laundering is going to happen. I did not see the second part of the question. I'm sorry.
Oh, let me get it. Oh, there we go.
Okay, here we go. Why hire people for several months only as opposed to full-time so they can, well, it's easy. They hire consultants and they pay them a little bit more because there's no 401k plan, there's no insurance, there's no benefits whatsoever. So that's why, they hire people for, they'll hire consultant versus full-time, and it's really sad because KYC is something that you constantly need no matter what. You have to know your customer. Even if you're doing periodic review, you have to look at your customer and you have to update their profile and all that. So there's always a need for know your customers. But companies don't want to pay. If you're full-time, you have a 401k.
Nice to see you, Mara. Glad you're here. I'm not sure. It just says LinkedIn user. Nice, they might not have a profile.
Glad to be here. Good initiative. Keep it up.
Yep.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
May I ask who that is? This LinkedIn user? Nice to see you, Mark. Glad to be here.
Sometimes if they don't have a profile picture, or it could be on there. One of the questions I had for you is, being that you've worked in this industry for so long, I'm not familiar with this, believe me, is how do you keep up with your education with that? Do you continually have to learn new software? Is there stuff that you do now, or what do you do?
That is the most amazing part of it. That's why I love auditing and compliance so much, So I will give you an example. Let's say you are a salesperson, I'm a compliance person. What are you going to be doing? All you do is sell stuff. There's nothing. You're going to sell a car, or let's say you are a banker. You open account. You're just going to open account. You do the same thing over and over and over again. With compliance, you have to keep up with rules and regulations. Everything that the government comes out with, you always have to know what's going on, because that is part of compliance. If I'm going to audit a branch, I need to know what the regulations are, what the policies are, what the government is saying we need to look for, and all that. So that's why I enjoy compliance so much rather than sales. And sales is very difficult. And companies force their employees to do unethical things by threatening them. Hey, you have to meet certain goals. If you don't, we're going to fire you. And these poor employees, what do? They do unethical things, not because they're bad or they want to, but because they're forced to. And what happens to these big companies? They get a slap on the wrist, and that's it. And what happens to the employee? They lose their job, and that's their income, and they have a family. So it's really, really sad.
Do a lot of the companies, I imagine, they provide if you got hired, they train you on everything, right? You have to learn that, like you said, continuously. It could be every week, something that you have to learn, right? I mean,
So every company hires you, trains you, yes. But you have continuing education. So you're going to have to do compliance, take some compliance tests and get an 80% score. Because an 80% shows that you have knowledge of what you have studied. So yes, they're always training you. It might not be via person by person. It might just be, hey, this is training, study this training, and go for it. So they might save a few bucks on 401 and benefits, but lose long-term on productivity, efficiency, and accuracy. Strange that this is a norm. Sorry, chatterbox. Unfortunately, companies don't care about you and I. Companies care about themselves. These are big companies, and they can afford to pay someone $60 versus paying them $60,000, in New York, and give them all benefits.
All the
No.
benefits.
These, for the life of me, I do not understand why companies would not hire someone who, has a lot of background and experience. And, for example, anti-money laundering is really big. Transaction monitoring is really, really big because
Right.
you are constantly looking at transaction, again, either live or historical, to see if there is any possibility of a red flag. If there's a red flag, you need to investigate. You bring it to your manager's attention. You write us SARS, and you go from there. I really can't answer that question as to why they prefer to hire consultant. The only thing I think about is because they don't want to pay for 401k plan, because I have to match the 401k. When it comes to medical, they have to pay half of your medical, so it's more costly on them.
So Marissa, is that, I'm sorry to interrupt, is that, are they or in your field, are they contract positions, or are they normally, or full-time, or is it like half?
It's full-time. In my field, it's full-time, but recently there seem to be more consultant than everything. Companies are not really hiring for these things, which Nitsan brought up a really good question. Why are they not hiring? So they might save a few bucks on the 401. Sorry.
No, it's the same one. I just wanted to pop it back up.
Yeah, they're looking to save. We all are looking to save, right? But big companies, I feel like they really don't care about employees. They just care about, hey, we have a project. It's 3 months. Let's hire these people. After 3 months, they're gone. But then there comes another 3 months of doing the exact same thing, and then another 3 months. Same thing. And then what's even funny is that, David, you've been in the recruiting industry. They have to pay people for to hire new people, whether it's 10%, 15%, and then you have so many unethical recruiters that you don't know who is telling the truth. For example,
well, that's what brings me into the next subject I wanted to ask you is, I want to ask you first, what have been your hurdles on trying to find like a new career in this type? What are your hurdles or struggles within this company that you're looking for in your field?
Just, I'm not trying to change career. I love finance. It's very challenging. I just love it. And it's all I know what to do. All my life since I graduated high school, I've been in banking or finance. One of the biggest hurdle is getting into the company. I'm qualified, yet many big companies would not hire me. And I think that is because they have to pay you. If you are educated, you have your degree, you have your experience, they have to pay you more. And so they don't want to pay you more. So then they'll hire you as a consultant. And another hurdle is you have recruiters that are very unethical. They're going to submit your resume to a company without even contacting you. They're going to change your resume based on whatever the company job description is. So back in the days, I used to have over 100 resumes. I'm not even kidding. Well, maybe I'm over exaggerating, because every time they're like, oh, can you add this? Can you change this? And I'm like, sure, because I wanted to get a job. And now I said, absolutely not. I have one resume full-time, and it's consulting also, and that's it. I'm not changing.
That makes sense.
Don't change a word. And
I don't recommend people do it, because to me, I told you before, is when you get a candidate, especially during these times, even, is if they're 60 to 70% qualified, I always interview someone like that, because if you're missing one piece of software, one wording on that resume, you wouldn't know, and they might not choose you for that interview. But I feel it's like a scale, what's good, what's bad, bring them in and interview.
Right. Well, no one is going to be 100%, no one. And if someone is 70%, you absolutely want to have a discussion with them, because they might tell you more, and more information that they didn't know that you have, and that could be a big plus for the company and for you. Many companies don't realize that there are so many people out there that could really add to the company. That could be a real asset to the company, and it's because they dismiss people very easily, just like that. You go on LinkedIn, you go on Indeed, every
Everywhere.
job website you can think about, and you see the same job for months and months and months, and no one is getting hired.
And that's where I wanted to bring that in. I know you're passionate about with recruiting and reaching out. Is
right.
You said it exactly. When there's a job that's on there for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months,
right.
You've applied. Oh, we've have it filled. Then why is it still there? You know, especially over. Either they're trying to find the resumes, and I get that. I do understand it. Sometimes they want to build a pool, but I also feel you need to be honest with the candidate. If you apply for it, I believe you need to reach out, or when you do the first interview, we talked about that. You need to reach out to the candidate so they have a good experience.
Well, David, that's in a perfect world.
I know.
Unfortunately, that's not the case. You can apply for a job and you'll never hear back from anyone.
Right.
I take initiative and I reach out to the recruiters. And if I don't get a job, I say, well, please keep my resume for future reference. If anything comes up that matches my resume, give me a call and we can go from there. But people don't even reply to you. You'll get an automated email that says, hey, we have decided to go with someone else. And that's it.
Right.
There are so many good people, but they're not given a chance because the company looks bad and the recruiting company also looks bad because the postings have been there for months and months.
Right.
And it's not being filled. And then you don't know, well, what are you doing wrong? Why am I not getting this job? So it's ridiculous in my opinion.
And that's where you just maybe was thinking KYC, your customer. It's the same thing, and I'll be utilizing that a lot now. It's not Kentucky Fried Chicken. It's KUC, what we talked about. There's a little joke. Marissa, I'm going to say for 30 seconds here. We were talking before the show and she said she had to go out and get KYC for her or KFC for her dogs. And I'm like, Kentucky Fried Chicken? She went out and bought her dogs Kentucky Fried Chicken. Sorry, I had to tell a story, but
it's okay.
Kentucky Fried Chicken for your dogs.
Yes. You know why? Because I love my dogs and I take initiative and I'm very passionate about my 2 little babies.
Right.
And, it's the same thing it's the same way I am with my job. I'm very passionate. I do not believe in failing at all. I believe in meeting expectations and exceeding expectations. And if a company can't see that in me, well, I don't belong there, and like I said, I always believe in adding value to a company. I've always offered to help companies in any way, whether it's the right training materials or, help with rewriting their policy and procedures because it's not very clear. So when someone reads it, it's very difficult. So you don't want them to have a bad experience. So I've offered to do that, and companies have, I shouldn't say companies. There have been 1 or 2 companies that really have not appreciated my talents and my experience and my value. And you know what? It's perfectly fine, but I just said, bye-bye, they're not worth my time, especially if you're not paying me, and I'm offering to do this for free for you.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks. I'll see you tonight, Bill. I'll talk to you.
Thank you so much, Bill. Thank you so much for joining.
Yes, he's a great guy. What I wanted to ask you there, now I got a couple more questions, is not all recruiters. I know when we say recruiters, but not all of them. There are some really good recruiters.
I agree with you.
Like
in general, speaking.
Yeah. In your experience, what would be a good recruiter in your experience? What would you like to say?
Great recruiter is someone who calls me and say, hey, Marissa, I found your resume on LinkedIn, or I see that you apply for this job and I think you'd be a great fit. When would be a good time for us to speak, to just get to know each other a little bit.
Right.
And, we set up some time and the person's like, well, I think you're going to be great for this job. Let's set up an interview for you. You set up the interview. Before the interview, they call you and they coach you. Unfortunately, they're trying to do their best, but you're the one that should be coaching them because you're the one that is I would say, subject matter expert in this case. So, they follow up before the interview, they follow up after the interview. If they get any news whatsoever, they reach out to you and they let you know. If you don't get the job, they are comfortable calling and saying, hey, Marissa, I'm sorry you don't have the job. I consider those individuals, like, great. But the ones that you don't even hear back from, it's very unfortunate. Very,
it is, because I always say that if you have a great experience, like you said it before we were talking, was, okay, so you didn't get the job. That's okay. Keep my resume, and it makes you feel, okay, they were honest with me. Maybe they do get another position.
Right.
Sure. Now, you get some of the companies that if they don't call you and they continue to do that, the candidate's really not going to apply there, and you're going to miss out on. I always say that you're going to miss out on some qualified candidates, because everybody nowadays is always saying, COVID, we can't find candidates. We can't. They're there. I really, they're there, but you have to reach out to them and respond.
Right. One of the problems that I find is that the job market is so saturated. It is really, really saturated. And you have two types of candidates. You have some candidates is just casting a net, a wide net, blindly applying for jobs. And you have candidates like myself. I am very aggressive. I'm very focused. I'm looking for my job, and I'm very serious about it. Now, when it comes to results, the people who are casting that net, they don't really care about hearing back or not hearing back. People like myself, I want feedback. It's absolutely irrelevant for me. So it's very frustrating not knowing, if you apply for a job, the reason for your rejection. Because if someone is not, reaching out to you, or it's a computer automated system that's just saying, hey, you didn't get the job. Well, that's frustrating, and then you see the job posting over and over and over again,
And
so
that's one of the hardest things.
Well, you do have the two types of candidates: the one that just apply for the sake of applying, and the ones that really need jobs, because
and I think they get
family, they have mouth to feed, and all of that.
You miss a lot of those candidates too, because an example, let's just say when I posted a job, sometimes you got like 100 people that apply for it. It is hard to go through 100 applications, because some of the candidates that when we would call them, what job is this for? Where's it at?
But that's your job, David. That's your job.
Right. But some of them don't remember, like you said, they apply for just applying. And when you get those type of candidates that just apply, like they don't even qualify for the job at all.
Right. They don't even look at a job description.
That's what I mean. So there's where it takes the time to go ahead and find that right candidate. There might be 3 out of that 50 that are really, really qualified, and you can miss out on them if you don't.
Right. And, it really does affect the person. It makes them feel like something is wrong with them. Maybe perhaps that's the reason why no one is reaching out to them. But no, like I saw this really nice girl. I don't know her on LinkedIn. She said, I have been applying for jobs for over 6 months now, and I can't find a job. What is wrong with me? And you know what? I said, nothing is wrong with you. And that's exactly my point with the two types of candidates. This girl is highly qualified and educated, and she can't get a job, and it's frustrating. All they can do is reach out and say, hey, you know what? This is what we're looking for. You don't have this. But even so, if she has, like you said, 70%, she can be trained, because no one is going to be 100%. No one is going to be, unless they're David, of course. No one is going to be 100%.
Oh, thank you. And one more question, then we're going to do the end here is, have you noticed when we talk about recruiters in your industry, do you feel, you really have to be a qualified recruiter to recruit for these type of positions. You can't just be, like I don't understand this industry, so it'd be very hard for me, besides just giving me, keywords. But do you find a lot of the recruiters that are trained in this area?
Absolutely not.
No, that's why I was curious.
Absolutely not. You just see they match words on resume.
Right.
They'll see KYC. Marissa has experience with KYC. Oh, this is it. I'll give you an example. Someone reached out to me and said, hey, I have a deputy auditing job for you. Right. That is extremely big. That's like Citibank. You have the person who manages.
Sorry.
So sorry. The person who manages compliance. They're like the head of compliance. And then you have the deputy chief, who's like the second in command. And she's like, oh, you can do it, you can do it. And I said, I do not have the experience. I can do auditing, I can do compliance, but I cannot be a deputy. She's like, no, there, I see your resume, you can do it. And I said, go ahead, submit me. She submitted me, and what happened? Now I'm in their database as a rejection.
Right.
When I told her I do not have the qualifications, I would love to be a deputy auditor, but I'm not. There are many courses I need to take. I need more experience, in the industry. And, when recruiters do things like that, it really affects you because now you have it in the company databases you have applied for jobs before.
Right.
And then it's like you've been denied. And the companies are like, well, if they've been denied, then the hiring manager don't think that they're suitable. When they're very suitable, but it's because recruiters just don't care. All they care about is that commission. I worked a job for a few months. I was negotiating with them, and this, about 7 people quit within 2 months. That started around the same time I started. I mean, there's a trend there. You give your feedback and your concerns, and they don't address it. They just throw it out the window like it's nothing. And what happens? You go and you read on every single website that you can think about very negative reviews. So my belief is, if you're going to help a company by providing feedback and they can change, then the company is going to be successful. Their employees are going to be successful, and they're going to have a higher retention rate.
Right.
Yeah, but unfortunately, some companies don't want to hear that at all.
And I always tell companies that, like you said, when you post a job, a couple of years, you have a database. As a recruiter, you have a database.
Right.
So people have applied, some really good candidates have applied maybe last year or 3 months ago. I always say, you need to go back sometimes and then come forward, because I feel if you've missed them, go back through your database, find that candidate again, reach out to them, because you never know as a passive job seeker that you might be wanting to make a move, and try to sell and have them come over to your job or career and have it there. So I always go back, then forward. But like you said, it's there every week. Everybody applies for it over and over and over and over.
Right. Which is ridiculous. It makes the company looks really bad, and makes the recruiting company looks bad too. Yeah. And then you have the company paying a lot of money to have the recruiting companies hire the maybe one candidate for a job, but then you have 10 recruiting companies for that same position.
Oh, going after. You're right.
Who it is.
You're right.
I'm sure you know this because you're in the world of recruitment, and it really is ridiculous. So rather than hire maybe 1 or 2, it's just not good practice.
Good, right. Thanks, Chris.
This call from a client. Good luck, Marissa. Thank you so much, Christopher. I really appreciate it.
Yes. And again, everybody, please reach out to Marissa, and, looking in the Manhattan area, please reach out, connect on LinkedIn. She's awesome. And she has such a strong passion. And I think we've talked probably 24 hours, but you know what you're talking about. And what I always like towards the end, we're getting 45 minutes. That was a good show. Is, Marissa, if you had that 1-minute elevator speech, why should a company hire you, and why, and what you're looking for in a company?
Oh, David, you had to put me in the spot. I hate elevator speech. I would say, oh my gosh. All right. I would say, hi, my name is Marissa Phillips. I have worked for many companies. I'm a critical thinker. I've done things such as blah, blah. Oh, hold on. Let me do it over. Usually an elevator speech is like 30 seconds.
Right.
Not a minute. So
I see. I know. She's so detail orientated. She's going to tell me.
My name is Marissa Phillips. Damn, David. You could have given me a heads up. I'm good at elevator speech, but you just caught me off guard. I'm going to say my name is Marissa Phillips, and I'm looking for a job. I have great experience in the financial industry. I've worked for a company like Goldman Sachs, K2 Integrity, HSBC, Citibank, Bank of Nova Scotia. I've held positions of all kinds, operations,
Wow.
I should get rid of the operations, KYC, AML, transaction monitoring, you name it, So please contact me if you have a position. Here's my business card, because I am always going to have my business card with my name, my phone number, my email, or I'll say, check me out on LinkedIn, Marissa Phillips. Look at the face and you'll see me. I'm not going to say that. I'm just kidding.
I did get you on that one. I will admit there, but it's always fun. It's what I like about the show being live. You just never know what's going to happen.
Right.
You don't know. Whether the dog's going to jump
I haven't done an elevator speech since 2013.
Wow, that's right. Well, it was about 2 years ago. I didn't really even know what that meant. I was going to networking events. And I was like, wow. When I started the company, I was like, wow, you do have 30 seconds to see who you want to network with. And if you didn't get it out, you moved on to the next one.
Right, because if you're in an elevator with a person, and this is why they call it the elevator speech, and they're going to the 5th floor, it might take 10 seconds. So
right.
you need to be, hi, my name is Marissa Phillips, I'm blah, 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 really quickly. Or you just give them your card and you say, hey, look me up on LinkedIn. I would love to work for your company. I think, BlackRock is a great company. I've always had admiration for, the type of business it does, and such and such.
Right.
But typically, an elevator speech is 30 seconds. A minute is way too long. I remember when I used to do it, I would record myself on my voicemail to hear how it is.
Right.
Or my manager would tell me, call him and pitch my elevator speech. And then he would critique and he would say, no, I didn't like this. You didn't sound like you're confident.
Right.
And you do it over and over again. And just imagine you are doing an elevator speech to your director, the director of sales or director of compliance or auditing or whatever. It's nerve-wracking.
It is.
Because you want to have that perfect elevator speech.
No.
It takes practice, of course.
That's right.
I'm surprised we're not having a lot of questions.
That's all right. But I want to thank you so much, Marissa. This is a chance where, networking, getting to know candidates, getting to know yourself, other people that are looking for work. And, I always say, reach out to Marissa, reach out to myself. Anybody that was on the show here, I'm sure they're all great colleagues. Reach out to them. And I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. We had a little issue with the first show, but we made it up for it. So thank you so much. And I know we're going to be still talking for a while. So we are going to end the show, and everybody have a great night. And I will talk to you soon, young lady.
Thank you, David. The pleasure was mine. Thank you. And thank you guys for your support, everyone for your support.
And you got it. Thank you.